And we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Flav from the Blockchain Game Alliance, and very happy to host this and moderate this calm session, our BGA panel discussions we used to have, where we can tackle a specific topic relating to blockchain gaming. And today we're going to talk about decentralized infrastructure and how they aim to help game developers to reduce their costs. So obviously there is no better person than the ones we have right now with us at the BGA to talk about these topics based on what they're building. And together we're going to unpack a few things like how obviously decentralized infrastructure can be a cost-cutting tool for game developers, but also like a strategic lever also for scalability, for ownership and performance. So we're going to explore that all together and see what the traditional maybe players miss, the providers, what they miss, and why gaming studios are tapping into this new DePIN world, DePIN for decentralized physical infrastructure network. So without further ado, I would love our speakers to introduce themselves, explain who they are, what they do, and we're going to jump into the different questions. So Clément, starting with you, can you introduce yourself and Aleph as well?
Sure. Well, thank you, Flavien, for the invite. So my name is Clément, and I'm the head of marketing for Aleph Cloud. So as it's in the name, we are a cloud, a decentralized cloud provider. And it's pretty easy what we do. We offer the opportunity to anyone, anywhere in the world to run a node, plug it to the whole network. So it creates like a huge galaxy of nodes. And based on that, you have the cloud. Basically, it's the origin of peer-to-peer network, and everyone can provide storage, computing to the whole cloud. And then after, anyone can pay for the different kind of solution we provide. That you can find on any traditional cloud, whether it is for storage, GPUs, web hosting, etc., etc.
Love it. And obviously, like we're going to talk about the EPN specifically, but related to the gaming industry. And it's going to be interesting to have your take on that because you work with quite some big dogs in the industry like Ubisoft. So we're going to capitalize on this expertise for sure. So thanks, Clément. Jeff, can you do the same?
Sure. So I'm Jeff Outlaw. I'm the CXO at YAM, the Chief Experience Officer. And what YAM is also a cloud. It's a decentralized network that we've built that is specific to streaming video games. So the merger of the sound card, graphics power, computing power, that whole architecture is our singular focus. And so we allow people who have gaming rigs at home to earn passive income with their gaming rigs, that they do the same thing as what Clément was saying. We put those all together into one big cloud, and then we pay people for the time that they're not using their computers. We pay them for the amount of sessions that their node runs on our network, and we're doing the same thing. We're reaching out to large game studios and publishers, signing them up to stream their games from our nodes. It's a bit more. We can get into it later on, but it's a bit more open than what you just have with normal cloud streaming, because we also can stream right into Discord and Telegram and websites, those kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be something we're going to talk about. I had the chance to experience the kind of experience that you're actually providing with these decentralized infrastructure, and also from so you said it from Discord, but also Telegram and the other apps, which is quite astonishing. So thanks, Jeff, for being here. And last but not least, Nagvi, if you can introduce yourself in gaming.
Yeah, it's thank you, Flav, and thank you guys. It's very strategically positioned by Flav to introduce Aleph and then Yom and then GAIMIN, because we sit kind of in between of Aleph and Yom. So what we do at GAIMIN, I'm the CEO of GAIMIN. My name is Nakudan Atlason. The name is difficult because I'm from Iceland. But what we do is we're building also a distributed cloud or decentralized cloud. We target the computational powers from gamers, so not from games like Yum, but from gamers we target the computational powers. And then like Aleph, we go to regular businesses and enterprises and offer them the cloud solutions that we're building. This can vary like with Aleph, but we're mostly focusing on networking, distribution, and computational tasks. So it'll be exciting conversations that we're going to have here with a bunch of experts like Jeff and Clement.
That's why I wanted you three to be in the comp session, obviously, because if we can see yourself with a kind of similar positioning, we're actually doing very different things on your side, which, in my opinion, will give a lot of value in our comp session as well. So thanks for being here. And as the first question is going to be an easy question. The topic is about reducing costs, but we are talking about a very different models from the traditional one. So, in your opinion, what do traditional infrastructure providers they get wrong when serving the game developers, and how those decentralized infrastructure that you're working on address those gaps specifically? You talked about that a little bit, but if we can compare what we have from the past years and what you're trying to introduce in this industry right now, could you explain a little bit more on that point? So I don't know, Nokvi, if you want to start.
Yeah, thank you so much. Interesting question. I think in terms of what traditional infrastructure gets wrong when it comes to game developers, I'm not sure if it gets it wrong, but game developers have a different need from other companies. And this is easiest explained by the fact that game developers need to get users to their game. That doesn't essentially mean revenue, but that will incur a lot of cost. So, unlike other businesses that have users coming in with revenue, game studios usually have user coming in, and then there's some lead time, and then there comes revenue. So for us, we're focusing on distributing, and it's easy to put it into context there that with every download, you have to pay a small fee to a traditional infrastructure, and they usually give you some kind of a grant to be able to sustain the first kind of push. But when they're out of the grant, they will incur quite significant cost there. But knowing the needs of a game developer, we try to stay flexible and offer up to 60 to 80% off distribution cost. And then, of course, being able to tap into the computational powers of gamers, we have their interest in mind by also having our gamers on our platform that we can offer to their game to sustain their kind of growth, let's say. But interesting to hear the thoughts of the others here.
Yeah, I could jump on that, but I don't know if Jeff, you wanted to go further on that question too.
Well, I don't. I would add to what Nakvi is saying is that there are more than cost that gets involved here. Scalability. Well, first going back to cost, centralized models are just going to get more expensive as those central servers are serving all the needs of AI. Right? All the AI needs is driving the cost of GPU power up. So the central servers, they're kind of built well for what AI does, not so well really for streaming games, honestly, because again the need to have access to all the different pieces to the bare metal. So but that's just one piece of it. The scaling up and the distribution of the reach, to make latency stay low, you want to be as close to the end user as possible. And with the central servers, you're still limited to your locations. Even if you have many different locations, you're still not getting down the street from me. But when you distribute the deep end, where I could be playing off a machine very close by with less hops. So that helps again with the latency issue. So, to say that they get it wrong, I think that it's just an old paradigm that is going to get replaced when the decentralized systems catch on and the games get into this version of it. I'll leave it there.
Clement, what do you think about that? And I would jump on you to, I would say responses, but I don't know, Clement, if you want to add something.
Well, I mean, both of Jeff and Nokvi runs kind of specific clouds for gamers. We are a bit different in the approach because we serve pretty much anyone, and we are not only focused on gaming. But I think that they are completely right when saying that the actual models are like too too close, and they are not able to scale for different kind of needs for gamers, sorry, but game developers as well. And the fact that the economic model is like different from one game to another one, from one company to another one, and the needs as well. The costs pretty much never change. Like when you go to AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, it costs you like a ton of money. Uh, whatever you do, like if you compare the cost, the bill at the end is pretty much too expensive. So yeah, that's the fact that there is no it's not a la carte, you see. You cannot really choose what you specifically need at the specific moment, and avoid like these huge costs.
So, based on your three responses, do you feel like you're targeting a specific audience, which could be because you mentioned scalability, issues of scalability, distribution? I feel like you all, maybe not specifically Clément on your side, but specifically Nakvi and Jeff, you're targeting indie game developers who try to get into this fight of finding the audience and acquire more and more users, but at some point come the cost of the infrastructure they have to run. So, do you feel like you're tapping into this specific ecosystem of indie game developers, or it actually doesn't mean anything on your side and it really tap into everyone?
Yeah, I think that we do have a real draw for indie developers because our system is set up to be almost a YouTube of games, right? Because you cannot. It's not just you're not just shepherded into a platform like Steam where your game gets overblown, but or it's a hot and sweaty market at Steam. So only the top 10 games get the algorithm pushes those, but yours gets lost. Instead, by pushing your game through Telegram or through Discord, making it very easy for me who loves the game to send it to my friend who has yet discovered it because I put it into our Telegram group and now he's playing it immediately without having to download and install. Like that way to virally spread the game is perfect for independent developers. The idea that you can just embed it on any website, including a game review website, like that kind of flexibility that we're enabling with our network is really, really good for independent gamers. But not just that; they're also we're talking now to a lot of game publishers who have a whole stable of games, and they're recognizing that wow, we can on our publishing site have an aggregator there, and again, not send our games that we're helping to fund, not send them to Steam or send them to Steam anyway, also, but not let them get lost on the Steam or Epic Store, and instead put them right in their own aggregators so that they build up a fan base of players who are used to the one game that they've published and showing them the other games that they also publish, and building a community that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to piggyback on that a little bit. We're just seeing peer to peer, if it's reviews, if it's gameplay, if it's democratizing access to the cloud computing revenue or the access to the game experience, like with Yum. We're just seeing that model is a big win. And you can look at anything like an Uber or an Airbnb. And maybe specifically in the case of, for example, what Yum is doing, the model that Spotify went with, the peer-to-peer play button, where you're kind of caching it from the nearest location. We're just seeing that model has now with blockchain technology, with distributed cloud systems and distributed networks, we're just seeing that as a winning model. And well, I think we're all capitalizing on that.
So, like, it's funny because obviously the topic is about reducing cost, but I feel like based on your responses, we need to be aware that it's also an opportunity for user acquisition. Like on your side, Yam, and yeah, Jeff, for Yam, you're suggesting that every game indie games should tap into every channels of distribution and not just relying on the Steam and everywhere, and Epic Games, but actually with the easiness of your products, having to suggest the gameplay on other platforms. So it feels like it's in user acquisition purposes. And on your side, gaming, I know that you have something, if I'm not mistaken, and please let me know. You have something you call Arena. You mentioned that a little bit around the user acquisition side of it, but you're also helping with user acquisition based on your services. So why it actually fits with your proposal related to the infrastructure you're offering to companies.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you can draw a pretty big parallel with just how the startup market is kind of growing out now. Now you're seeing an idea, you're seeing a community commit to that idea. This is a typical, for example, in crypto, and then you're seeing the company executing that idea with some community behind them. So it's really nice for example, indie game developers to be able to tap into us, where we have a big community, and me and Jeff were actually speaking about this earlier today, that we have a really active Telegram community, a really active Discord community, and then also on our platform. So if an indie game developer comes to us and say, "Hey, we want to use your distribution mechanism, but we also want to tap into your community," we're more than happy to help out with that. So it's just an added benefit for indie game developers to come into this environment that I think we're all trying to build with peer to peer and trying to highlight each other, I guess.
On your side, Jeff, like what did you think? You talk about that for the distribution channels and everything, but user acquisition, what could you say based on what you're building with Yom?
Well, I think that again, the market is pretty crowded, and you're seeing contractions now, which I think will ultimately lead to a better, more robust industry. So, one of the things we talk about when we talk about this model is that um, the big game studios and the longer titles that take 3 years to build and have massive budgets and massive staff, when they don't succeed, it's a huge hit to the company. So oftentimes, and I've been in games for 25 years now, so I've seen it firsthand. The studio feels like, listen, we don't want to take any kind of risk because we're going to be taking on 3 years of development and 400 staff, so we're going to just build the sequel to the game we made before. And ultimately, that means you don't get a lot of innovation any longer, or all the innovation, anyways, gets put off, and the independent gamers are independent game developers are the ones who are doing all the innovating. So, for a more robust and creative industry, I think we need to help the independent game developers find their audience as best as possible. And again, breaking down the walls and not forcing them into tight funnels where you need to have, well, a couple of things, right? You need to either have an account at one of these platforms. You certainly need to have those big, heavy gaming rigs, which is great for us because, again, we help them make money with that. But not everyone's going to have those. So my son, who's got, he loves his games, but he's got several friends that can't play alongside of him because they don't have the big gaming computers. And of course, the clouds allow for this to happen. Now, then the next step is, how do we get those kids who don't have a high power machine, so they're not going to have Steam anyways, right? So now we can just send the link to those friends who are on a smaller laptop, and they can play together. So this is the kind of thing that you think about when you think about the way the independent game developers and also these publishers who push out a lot of games, how they can reach a much larger audience, all that audience of players who don't have the equipment for it.
Then let's talk about the big dogs and the big companies, the big game studios. Ubisoft work with you, with Aleph, Clément. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? You work with them for quite some years based on the kind of campaigns they have and games they launch for the past year. So could you explain a little bit why they actually value this partnership with you and maybe the reason why they wanted to use the infrastructure
Sure.
you're suggesting?
So, yeah, we've been working with Ubisoft for nearly 5 years, if I'm correct. But we don't work with the main big entity. Like, we work with Ubisoft, but we don't work for like the very biggest game like Assassin's Creed or whatever. We work with a tailored business unit which is focusing especially on Web3 games innovations in this way. And so it's about of test and learning. They started a couple of years ago with a game on Tezos that did not met all the. It did not met his audience, if I can say so.
They made some noise for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Basically, it's like. No, I wouldn't say, but it's just like, yeah, people acknowledge it, and it wasn't very positive. But anyway, they kept going, and so they brought to life two new games. One is Champions Tactics, and the other one is Captain Lazarok, which is also a Netflix TV show. And they wanted for this Web3 games to have a provider, a service provider that is matching the whole concept, the whole yeah the service provider should be Web3 native. Like, we don't use AWS, we don't use a big one. We want a cloud that is matching what we want to do. So this is how everything became to life, and they started to run a node. They started to generate NFT with dynamic NFTs with our metadata storage system, and this is how everything came to life. And now we've announced a brand new feature for the game using AI. So the concept of this new feature on Eden Online, so Captain Lazarok, it's to hack an AI agent in order to get some very exclusive rewards. And each time you fail to obtain, you fail, one reward, which is tied to an NFT, is burned forever and for everyone who is trying to play. So basically, the more you lose, well, everyone loses too. And the second one is a very cool concept that they've launched, is basically having AI agents that are able to vote on the DAO of their game. So if you're not using, if you're not voting on the DAO, if you're not active on the forum, anyway, your digital avatar will vote for you based on all the interaction you previously had with it. And because you have feed it with by playing with it, by giving it all kind of information, it knows, or it reproduce your behavior through voting on the DAO. Yeah.
Are you saying that one service provider like yourself is actually used to build new game mechanic using blockchain?
I would say it's a good opportunity to do so, because you can do it with any kind of cloud. It's we are not like a snowflake, like very unique in the world. But if you want, and this is what I really like about this uh, about their project, about Ubisoft project, is they want to do something that matches completely with what they are saying. So they are saying, we want to do something fully Web3, and it needs also to be it needs to start with our infrastructure. So this is where I love this kind of project, and I'm pretty sure that any AAA company, gaming studio, can do it too, and it will be very massive for the whole industry to, whether it's us, it's gaming, it's Yom, there's like hundreds of clouds, but start to do so by starting to use a decentralized infrastructure that have different kind of services, different kind of tools, for the games. For example, we have indexers for blockchains. We have a reversal oracle where we can get the on-chain data off-chain. So it's again a la carte. So if there's something you need, and this cloud have it or it can have it, then let's go. We have helped them a lot. We have helped Ubisoft team a lot with AI. In the first place, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a feature that we wanted to launch, but when they were in need of that, we said like, okay, so let's go, and then after we'll also use it and provide these kind of tools for other companies if they need so.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're working with the innovation team of Ubisoft, and obviously they wanted to tap into this new world because they wanted to see what they could do and how they could innovate using your services. And this is exactly what I understood when I talked to Ubisoft, who said it's actually easy to use their service. So easiness of using your service. That will be kind of the next question for everyone, because most game studios, they are cost conscious. Like obviously they care about cost. That's something we talk about, but they are also risk averse, which is like it's easy to talk to AWS based on the popularity of the service and how big they are. But on your side and the kind of service you have and the kind of benefits you have, how do you convince a game studio to make the leap to decentralized infrastructure? Don't know, Nagvi, if you want to start with it.
Yeah, it's a good question. In terms of what you said, of course, cost is a big thing. We can just look at what AWS and Google and Microsoft are doing. I think over the last month combined, they've announced that they're putting, I think, $265 billion into data centers.
Mm.
And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that that money is going to flow down to the users of those services. So cost is a big thing. Another one for, I think, probably all of us here is simplicity of use. I kind of like what Clement said. There are a bunch of clouds in the world that you can use. So we need to differentiate ourselves with some comparative selling points. For us, it's the ease of usability. And so what AWS, Google, and Microsoft have to do, because they're building out these big data centers, is they have to be quite costly because they're taking on all the headaches, and then they have to introduce something called a vendor lock-in. So it's really hard to migrate between services. It becomes a big headache, and financially, it's just irresponsible if you move services. So
Mm.
what we are doing, at least, I can't speak for Yom or Aleph, is that we're developing features, enterprise-ready features that you can easily migrate away from these services. We're going first with the distribution because any game developer needs to get their game out there worldwide. So it's just a low-hanging fruit to take a feature. You can still use your own storage solution. You can go to Aleph if you want. We don't offer that, but we offer a really competitive distribution solution that takes 5 minutes to set up instead of all the configuration of edge location and cache hitting and CloudFront and all of that. We have none of that because we have no data centers. All of our locations are edge computing locations. So we say all of the configuration that may incur a little bit higher cost in CloudFront or not, just forget about it. We'll take care of that for you. We'll take care of the infrastructure. You take care of the innovation. That's our sales pitch, at least. But I'd like to hear what the other guys are selling to the companies.
As much as like you already responded a little bit on the next question I wanted to ask, and I'm going to ask obviously because I asked a question to a cloud provider. We could say traditional cloud provider, and you kind of answer a part of that question. So you're going to be the first to answer the next question. That would be for sure. But Jeff, what is your take on that?
Yeah, so those those studios that are risk averse, we understand it. Again, I've been in the industry a long time. What we can say to them is the other side of this is they're already facing a cart abandonment rate of like 74%, and people who are they're interested in the game but they don't actually download and install it like 96%. So a good use case for them here at the beginning, if they're being cautious, is to put a demo up on their website, and the
Mm-hmm.
demo that shoots them over to the full download site. So just the first level. And it used to be this way, right? You used to go get PC or Gamer magazine, and it come with a CD-ROM. You put, and you'd have like 6 different demos on it. And it was great to test a game out and find out if you're going to like it or not. So for those big publishers who are a little bit concerned about using it, they don't want to put the whole game out there. Yeah, they just put a sample up and see if it doesn't help bring more eyes to your game and increase your adoption rate, something like that. So that's how we approach it. I'm not sure, if Clement, if that's the same thing for you, or how else you approach them.
Well, it's a little bit different for us, and especially for myself. We don't want or need to convince them. Actually, it's just that it's like gaming companies is just like one part of our client, and we know that we can't fit for everything they want or they need, but we have like a panel of, we have a list of different kind of product and solution, and the best way to promote it to those kind of companies, just to show what is working by using Aleph. So if a huge company like Ubisoft is able to trust us for two of their Web3 games, maybe you can do it too. And if you're too afraid because it will cost you money, well, it's not a big deal. We will offer it to you. Just simple as that. If you want to come, so let's try. It's free. If you are happy, we will discuss it. And if you are not happy, so you can go elsewhere. There is no problem, no hard feeling. It's just business.
I can easily recognize this culture you have at Aleph, definitely. All right. So as maybe the last question, although you may have, or maybe AI is actually a good, because you talk about that quite often today. So I love blockchain, I love gaming, but I also love to be wrong as well, based on what I see in the space. So I wanted to check with one traditional cloud provider I know a little bit and say, okay, what do you think about decentralized cloud provider? And this is what he said. It solves a small piece of the puzzle for sure, but edge computing, and you talk about that a little bit, and orchestration across providers already address most of the problem that decentralized infrastructure claim to say they solve. Plus, they've built a healthy P&L using smart negotiations across multiple cloud providers. How do you respond to that? Like, maybe the response I could guess will be yes, but for us it's actually cost effective, or you don't have to deal with a lot of, you don't have to take time to do those deals one by one. What could you say around that statement? I don't know, Nagvi, I know I'm using you all the time to be the first, but maybe you have the answer already.
Yeah, I think it's a fair statement that the person from the traditional cloud provider said. It solves a small piece of the puzzle, which may be an understatement. I think it's just an evolution of computational environments. So if you look at 20 years back, companies had to put their own on-prem solutions, screwdriver and cables and all of that. That was high in upfront cost and didn't offer any scalability. So they moved over to renting the cloud. And that, just for people who are on here who are not familiar with the cloud, there's no such thing as a cloud. It's just someone else's computer. You're just outsourcing your headaches. And they have to make sure that they get their money back. So it's quite costly, and they introduce the vendor lock-in. And now you have this decentralized infrastructure that kind of just completes the puzzle, where you can contribute to the cloud and get a benefit of shared pool of resources, just like Uber and Airbnb and stuff like that. So if you think about the company that has an on-prem solution and doesn't want to be on the cloud, they can rent a small percentage of their on-prem solution and then benefit from the shared global pool of resources. And I think it's easy to conceptualize when you look at it. I encourage everyone here to go on datacenters.google/locations and look at the locations of the data centers. They have, I think, the last time I checked, 38 data centers worldwide, and 13 of them are still under development. It takes between 5 and 15 years to develop a big data center that can sustain, and then they need to upgrade everything. For us, it takes maybe one successful marketing push to increase our network by 50%. So it's just a way, an alternative solution to an already solved problem that provides some, like Clement said, it provides some with the service that they need, and some like to stick with the traditional. So I think it's just another solution in the market, kind of completes the entire environment, maybe.
Love the answer, Jeff. I feel like you agree on a few points, if not all the points mentioned by Nagvi. But what do you really think?
Yeah, I would say I agree with all the points. But
Mm.
when I read the quote you sent to us, again, I agree that I think that they're really understating it when they say it's a small piece of the puzzle, because we're talking about a 95% savings. Part of that is because of the cost of running those data centers. And again, even if you populate across several different of them, they're all keeping their prices about the same. They don't really compete with each other. There's also the problem of when they scale up, like they have the cost of building a new data center. When we scale up, again, we're just, as Nakvi is saying, we just do a marketing push, and our OpEx expense is actually a revenue generator for us. It's not a cost for us. It's a revenue generator for us. But there are a couple other things too. I think when I just recently read an article about one of the Google's data centers they're building in Atlanta, which is about 2 hours from me, and all the people in the area are like very concerned because they've already destroyed the water table there. So it's already environmentally damaging to build these data centers, and they're not going to be able to keep up again as AI has these needs. They're not going to be able to keep up in that way. So this is also just more environmentally sound. And the third thing I would say is you're getting participation from people who are in the community, in the gaming community, and they're able to earn money by contributing to the network. That money is going to circulate itself back to the gaming industry. So you've got a nice loop where people are making money, then spending money, then making money. When you employ people's computers at home, be part of the ecosystem. And then the last piece, of course, is part of the reason why we can save them so much money is we're not asking them to reserve, so many computers around the world. It's just when they have a session fire up, that's when we start payment. And if it's not being fired up, they don't have to pay anything. But there's a lot of those data centers, they've got to reserve a certain amount of space, right, in advance. And if they don't have a game using that space, they're still paying for it. So to say it's a small piece of the puzzle, I think is very well understanding. Of course, if I were in that industry, I would also make the case for my centralized server because I want people to remain with my old technology. But again, new technology over replaces old technology, and it's just they can't really. They're fighting a waterfall that's probably never gonna they're never gonna win. So they should kind of come on board. Again, I don't think we necessarily need to steal their work because they're going to have plenty of work with all the other. Again, I think AI does well inside of central servers. They can have tight packets. They do well in decentralized servers also, decentralized clouds. But they're going to be plenty of work for them. They certainly shouldn't feel threatened by us, but they should recognize that there are strengths that we have that they're never going to have.
We're gonna clip that for sure. Love it. Thank Jeff. Clément, what do you think? Are you on mute?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. It will be a bit boring, but obviously I agree with what was said previously, and I do think that like money wise, it's not the. I mean, yeah, money is not the main issue, or it's not. The most important thing for people building this industry. Like as said, for example, economically and ecologically and energetically, it's definitely not a good thing to run stuff on huge data centers. And if you look at, for example, I will take just a very simple example. If you look at USDT, so the stablecoin, there are 10 people, actually around 10 people that are running a multi-billion company. When you use Google, AWS, etc., obviously that the cost is so high because they have to pay thousands of employees. And I'm not saying that we should have less employee, but it has a cost, and you can find like better providers that are still corporate suited, but with like smaller team that can do a similar or good job at a lower cost. And yeah, in the end, if we talk about AI, for example, I'm not someone specialized in AI, but most of the people use AI today for prompts and text mostly. Having like huge units of GPUs and huge data centers just to run LLMs like Groks. When you ask something on Twitter and you are asking Grok, I mean, you don't need to have like these kind of huge data centers. You can use, and it works perfectly with really well optimized CPUs, and it costs less, and it's less. I mean, it's obviously better for the environment, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
No, I mean, I do think that I do think that we're not going to have the time we should have to talk about AI, because I guess you have so many things to say about that. So I do think we should talk about that in another video, because it makes so much sense based on the thing you just said. And I really wanted to thank you for all the things you said, because the purpose of this conversation was, and obviously I wanted to make it like we're going to talk about cost, how to reduce cost based on the infrastructure they could use on your side. But obviously it's not just for that. But I also wanted to move away from the thing which is important, which is incentivizations, like the thing you highlighted, Jeff, on your side, which makes a lot of sense. But I feel like sometimes the industry, the industries like the traditional gaming industry, see us like the only thing we're talking about is incentivization of what we do. And I feel like based on everything you just said and every benefit you just highlighted, based on the infrastructure you're running, there are so much more things to say. And I think you highlighted that very much based on the struggles of every indie game developers, but also big game companies. So I really wanted to say that, because I do think we're going to use everything you say to explain a little bit as a whole how decentralized infrastructure is not a piece of the cake, but actually much bigger than that. So thanks a lot for your time, guys, and I really appreciate that. And I wish you a very, very good day, and I will keep you updated about maybe another conversation related to AI, because I do think that's value in this. But also opening the door for a few minutes if you feel like we didn't tap into a specific topics. Let me know. Nod if you want to, but if you don't, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much, Flav. I really appreciate the discussion, guys, and happy to jump on a video call like this anytime if you want to talk about decentralized infrastructure or cloud solution or AI. So thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Nice to have met you both too. I think again, there's probably synergies between the three of us. We should probably talk about maybe offline. But thank you, Flat, for the conversation. It's been very good.
That was the hidden objective too, finding some synergies. So yeah, I love it. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a
Thanks,
wonderful day.
Flav. Yeah,
Bye.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye bye.